Just Radio. My name is Kyle, and joining me as always is my co-host Christian. Before we begin, the show was brought to you in part by Pete's Pub on the corner of Brady Street in Arlington. Pete's Pub offers daily food specials, daily drink specials, weekly trivia, and much more. More information available at petespubonbrady.com.
We have a very, very special guest today, as usual, but this one's especially special, our first Hall of Famer. So he's a former strong safety for the Green Bay Packers, first player in NFL history to have 20 sacks and 20 interceptions. He's a member of the NFL's 1990s All-Decade team, and he's a Pro Football Hall of Famer, the creator of the Lambeau Leap, which might be his greatest achievement. Ladies and gentlemen, number 36, LeRoy Butler. What's up, LeRoy?
Hi, guys. How y'all doing?
We're doing great. What about you? Obviously, a little earlier you were sharing, took you a little bit, you're in Phoenix right now for the Super Bowl. You had a little bit of it was quite the journey to get there from Milwaukee last night, but we're glad you and your wife made it there safely. So, what is your plan for the next couple of days? Are you making some appearances, what's your schedule looking like?
Yeah, quite a bit of things. See, the thing when you make the Hall of Fame, which I didn't know, this is my first year, you have stuff for the NFL, you have stuff for the NFL, and you have stuff personally, and you want to get with some of your other colleagues or former players. So I got a really tight schedule that starts probably this afternoon.
Right.
I'll probably go down to Radio Row and do some interviews. A lot of dinners. Then we got the honors tonight to find out the new class of 2023, which I know and I can't tell you.
Okay, so you can't break that news on our show.
No, I can't. They'll take my gold jacket if I did that.
So is the busy schedule worth being in the Hall of Fame for?
Oh yeah, but if people know me and your listeners and viewers or whoever, if you know, my whole life has been a vacation. I'm probably one of the happiest guys to ever enjoy their life because of the way I was brought up. But when you become when you play for the Packers, and people used to ask me this all the time, how does it feel playing for the Packers? I say, listen, it's like being a rock star 24/7.
Yeah.
And not necessarily for me, Brett, Reggie White. If you your tagline is I play for the Packers, it's a big deal. But when you make the Hall of Fame, it's like football heaven.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of phone calls. But and the reason why I wanted to do you guys' interview, first of all, I live in Oak Creek or in Milwaukee.
Right.
To me, now this is just my opinion because a lot of players give a lot of smoke for this, but I like doing interviews like you guys. Instead of the national interviews, I don't do a lot of those because I think they're kind of lame because it's just everybody wants to be famous or they work hard to be.
Right.
And I think that doing new platforms to get new fans, the grassroots way, I think, because I've been wanting people to know me as a person. And then, along the way, he has all these accolades.
Yeah.
So that's why I was looking forward to talking to you guys. For somebody's going to learn something about me today that they probably would have never known.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, we would like to eventually have more fans, so you're helping us out too. So we really appreciate it.
We're going to get a lot of fans, don't worry.
Oh, for sure. So I'm looking at you, you look pretty damn near like you did when you were playing. So what's the secret to looking and feeling good? Clean living?
I tell you what, I have 6 daughters.
Oh boy.
And I have a son. My son is named after me, LeRoy Butler the fourth. I named him after me so he can get Packer tickets and he'll be able to get married because some girls are going to want that name, right? But the secret to it is me and my wife have a plan. She manages the kids, which is hard. I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to do that. But
you were pretty busy during the 90s.
I don't want to deal with because they have too many issues, and I don't want to deal with that. But cooking, cleaning, the domestic chores, paying the bills, I want to do all of that.
Right.
But when you wake up 4 o'clock in the morning and you feel a little hand shake you, Dad, I got a TikTok idea. Can you be in the video? Are you kidding? Or Dad, can you get me something to drink? You passed the kitchen.
Right.
Why don't you wake your mom up? No, we want to wake. So that keeps you young when you have a structured and you know where your anxiety is coming from. Then when you go to your therapist, which I do once a week for the last 18 years, maybe 20.
Oh, wow.
That's the real reason. I'm being funny with the other stuff. That's why I stay measured and really problem-free mentally so I can execute everything I want to do. And that's the one thing I was advocating for Aaron Rodgers to get some therapy. And I know he likes to do the stuff he's doing now to where he goes and do this four-day cleansing dark.
Yeah, he's going to be sitting in a dark room for a couple days.
See, all of that would equate to 45 minutes with a good therapist. I actually have 4 because the one young lady, sometimes she's not available.
Right.
I have another young man. And then if he's not available, I have another young lady because I need to talk to some. And I used to, guys, full disclosure, I used to talk to our team psychologists and therapists even when we won games. Because how does this work? Because in my mind, I think I'm going to win all the time.
Right.
When you lose like Super Bowl 32, how do you process that? Because you just won Super Bowl 31. So I think therapy for me is the biggest thing I would advocate for anybody if you want to get on the right path, especially if you're an athlete.
Yeah. And obviously, I mean, your story, I mean, you've been through a lot. Obviously, born in Jacksonville, Florida. You spent a good chunk of your early years in a wheelchair. You were in leg braces for a few years. So on your website, you have the story that you pretty much accidentally discovered that you could walk. Is that true?
Yes, it was. Now this is the projects. Now the inner city South, Jacksonville, Florida. You're in this small apartment. It was called the Blodgett Homes, and it's not a lot of square footage, but it was almost like an accident. I had these braces on like Forrest Gump. And my sister, who's my hero, my mom's my role model, but my sister's my hero. She was going to the prom or somewhere she was going. Some guy was going to take her on a date, and we was always grilling these guys who would come pick her up. It was always funny. And she kind of, she didn't like the wheelchair anyway, and she didn't like the braces.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a hard thing to like. I mean, seeing your sibling in those.
Yes, because she had to carry me sometimes. I could get over like a puddle of water or do something.
Right.
So she was rushing one day and she came down. She broke my braces. So we just kind of collided. And I never put them on anymore. She said, just keep them off. So we had like a bunk bed. Somebody donated us a bunk bed.
Yeah.
And my dream was to be on the top bunk.
That's the best one. That's where you
That's the best one.
Exactly.
I'm
always on the lower.
Yeah, because in college, when I was in college, I was always afraid, like, what if the top bunk collapsed on me while I was sleeping?
Like Step Brothers.
Yeah, like, I don't want to die. I don't want to die that way.
I would want to roll over, though. That's a hard top, though.
That is, as you said, I mean, it's very Forrest Gump-esque. I mean, so once you were out of the wheelchair, you became the sports phenom. After junior high, you were recruited by football powerhouse Robert E. Lee High School. You were a unanimous high school All-American your senior year. I mean, there's a lot of talent that comes out of Florida. So who did you play against a lot of guys that ended up in the NFL?
Oh, that's a great question.
Thank you.
One of my biggest friends, like these are my guys, like, but the guy that me and him are tight, we're like the same DNA brothers as Emmitt Smith. I played high school against Emmitt Smith.
Was that a Scambia?
Boy, you did your homework.
Yeah, we got LeRoy Butler on the show. We got to do our homework.
I love you guys. I did shows with 200 million views. It ain't never brought up. It's Scambia.
How'd you know that, Chris?
I've read him. When I was living in Florida, like the high school was kind of close to there, so I remembered it from like 10 years ago. Well, I'm glad I could finally bring out.
I'm glad we're impressing you with our questions. So you played against Emmitt Smith in high school?
Yes, he was the top. I think me and him are on this all-century team. The top 33 players in 100 years in the state of Florida. That's one of my biggest accomplishments. Emmitt Smith, the guy he was like a combination of Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, any running back you ever heard of. He was that good in high school.
Right.
But when he played us, they beat us in the playoffs. But we became friends because he was a big name.
Yeah.
And we're still friends to this day. So, playing against players like that puts you at another level in Jacksonville.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm 34, so obviously I got to catch some of the good years in the 90s and the course of the 2000s. I mean, obviously your career was cut short by a shoulder injury, but yeah, I have good memories. I remember watching the Super Bowl with my mom. You guys crushed the Patriots. I also remember the next year having to go to school all sad because we lost to the Broncos. I'm sure you felt a little worse.
I'm sorry.
I accept your apology. I appreciate it. I don't think it was all your fault, man. But
that has to be a headline, right? That has to
Yeah.
be the headline. LeRoy Butler apologizes to me and put me in caps for losing Super Bowl 32.
He blames himself after all these years.
Well, dude, I can finally rest easy now. I'll be like, thankfully somebody from the team apologized to me. I was hard. So, Chris, my co-host, he's a big Miami Hurricanes fan. So I think a big question is, what made you choose Florida State over Miami?
Well, that's another great question. And we're talking about friends. Michael Irvin is my brother. I mean, he just brings the best out of him. I played 2 years against him in Miami, and I probably had more friends on the Miami Hurricanes because Emmett went to Florida. I remember talking to him, and he said, I'm going to the Gators. I said, I got to play you another 4 years? Oh, my God. But, yeah, Miami was that one team that we used to get in fights, not me because I don't fight anybody, before the games. Because we had our Chief Osceola would throw the spear down. It would be fire on it. Uh-huh. They didn't want to let him out. And I mean, they were just like ripping on our horse. I'm like, what is wrong with these guys? and it was just, they had so much talent.
Right.
And it was just one of those things where I say, if I want to stay close to home, it was going to be with Coach Bobby Bowles when he talked to my mom. Because I was a Prop 48. I didn't pass the SAT test. Uh-huh. So all these schools were going to give me scholarship. When they found out I was a Prop 48, they didn't want to give me a scholarship, but Florida State said, we're still going to give you a scholarship.
Right. And you got the opportunity. You spent 2 years with Deion Sanders. What was that like?
You know what Deion taught me is about branding. This was before the internet and social media. Deion Sanders is a Nobel Peace Prize worthy tongue twister as far as branding. When I first met him, he was the first guy to have a tagline, prime time. I mean, he doesn't get credit for that. Deion gets credit for starting branding for players and taglines and be confident and just everything about you on and off the field. And people don't know this, but he's a very religious guy. So he ties it all in. So being around him for 2 years at Florida State really got me prepared for what was about my senior year.
And you were part of one of the most confusing trick plays of all time with Florida State. I just watched the highlight again of the Puntarooski. Can you explain the chain of events again?
I tell you what, we talked about putting in this fake play for Emmett and them for Florida, because we played them at the end of the year. So Coach Bowles said, we got this play, and God is good, because I don't know why Coach Bowles chose me. But he come into the meeting room and said, we got this play here. We're going to draw it up here, boss. That's what we're going to do. That's how he talks. And that gummit, we're going to fool him. I said, okay. I'm sitting in the meeting like, okay. He said, LeRoy, you're the guy. I said, oh, boy. He drew it up. And we did it in practice. It didn't work. We did it again in practice. It didn't work. So we kind of shelved it. And then we played Clemson. It was a top 5 team. So were we. And I remember going up because I was always on the punt team, so it didn't look weird. So I'm running on the field. He says, run it. But he had his hand over his mic. You know, they cover your mic when you're calling plays. He says, run it. And that was the key word, run it. So I told everybody to run it. And they thought I was crazy because it was on like the 18-yard line. It was like raining.
They're like, what is LeRoy doing? He's calling his own number right now?
Yeah, he's going rogue, man. What is going on? I said, no, coach. So the players were like, okay, let's catch him off guard. And Dane Williams, he was the up back. He's the key to it because he has to get the ball from the center and put it between my legs. I got to sit there for 3 seconds. The punter has to jump as if the ball went over his head. Everybody in Clemson, Death Valley, that was the name of the stadium, they got all excited because they thought the ball went over his head. So it was a loud roar. So I felt the ball, and I'm sitting there. I felt the ball between my legs. So at first I'm thinking, don't fall and just get the first down. It was 4th down. Then I see this guy coming from my periphery. He sees me. I just take off running. And as I'm running, and I'm not like Carl Lewis or anything, no form. I'm just running, right? I'm like, okay, I'm free. This is awesome. I'm running, and I forget about Donnell Woodford, who's the punt returner, who's 40 yards back there. He sees me. So he's already back there. So he runs, has a great angle, pushed me out. I think it pushed me out at like the 3 or the 4. I was so excited. I really was. And Richie Andrews, one of my best friends, left-footed kicker, but it was on the wrong hash mark. So it was a tough kick for him. But he nailed it. And that play, and then the students, shout out to our student body. Like, when I got back, they already had shirts that said, the Butler did it. I said, I've never heard that phrase before.
Yeah.
And they made up these shirts. We sold thousands of these shirts that said, the Butler did it. And he did it in Death Valley. And the people in Clemson were so distraught, man. That's the first time I had media all around me.
Right.
Like.
And you didn't get a dime. You didn't get a dime from those T-shirts, did you?
No, we didn't have NIL deals then.
Yeah. Are you a fan? Are you a fan of NIL deals?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Get their money.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, there won't be no ramen noodles when you're getting them kind of checks.
No, definitely. I mean, the money that these collegiate athletes bring to their universities, they should be getting something over the table, right? I mean, obviously there's a lot of under the table stuff, but the over the table. Are you sad that you didn't score a touchdown on that play?
You know, my nephew was the first one to ask me that question. Can I get in a debate with him? Because he's a big Michael Jordan fan and I love LeBron. So we argue all the time. He said, why you didn't score? I said, I didn't try not to score. I'm slow. So he said, well, I can't rip on you if you're going to be honest. I need you to be more animated about it. I said, no, I have no sleep. Now, I probably would have, if Richie would have missed the field goal, I probably would have felt different.
Right.
But by him making it, it's almost like I just want to be a part of it. I don't want to be the hero. I just want to be in the movie. He said, wait a minute. No. Why didn't you? So we get in that debate all the time. But listen, I'm just happy for get Richie in that position. So
yeah, I think things turned out pretty good for you. What do you got for him, Chris?
I was going to say, you mentioned, people getting their money, securing their bag, if you will. Do you wish you could kind of like go back and rework a contract with the Packers for any time they use the phrase the leap, what you popularized? Because, I mean, I feel like that's been done so many times. You maybe like $10 for a time everyone does that.
Every time they say the term Lambeau Leap, like something should be going to LeRoy Butler, I feel like.
Absolutely. I mean, it works also that it like flows like Lambeau Leap. Like imagine playing at Arrowhead, like Arrowhead Leap. Like it just doesn't work that way. What was going through your mind? You finally got that touchdown. What led you to just jumping into the stands like that?
You know, that's a great transition from the punt Ruski, which is a play that when I'm down south, that's all they talk about, the punt Ruski. But when I go north, it's all Lambeau Leap. That's it. Yeah. They don't even mention my Pro Bowls or All Pros or Hall of Fame. Lambeau Leap. I was on the plane and people, Lambeau Leap. So, and to me, I never really wanted to do it like that because I love the fans. I want the fans to be incorporated. But also, my good friend, Robert Brooks, one of my best friends, now he was smart enough to have exactly to do what Chris is saying to make sure no other team can do it. So like a year or two after, he trademarked it, him and the Packers, so nobody could use it. And then he put out that song, Jump
in the Stands. Yeah.
Yes, man, that thing is amazing. And we just said, we're going to make sure no other team can use that. And we just want to make sure it's for the fans. It's all, because even like the statue outside Lambeau Field, I didn't want a statue of like me doing it. I thought that'd be too narcissistic. I said, how about if the fans were me, we put the fans up and you could go take a picture and you could jump up on the wall like you're me. Great idea.
I mean, I don't think it's narcissistic to be okay with a statue of yourself outside.
I mean, you got a bust. You have a whole bust of yourself in Canton right now.
Yeah, you got a whole bust. Yeah, you got a bust.
Does it look like you? Was it a good? Did they do a good job?
It does. I went to Salt Lake City with Blair. He's the artist. And I didn't know how it worked, obviously, but I fly out there with him, guys. I've never been there before. And when I go into this compound of all these statues of stuff he's done, he pulls out this board. He said, I've looked all over the internet, and I can only find 3 to 5 pictures of you not smiling. Do you want to smile on your bus? I said, yes.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Yes, exactly. He said, but it's going to look like you have brown teeth because it's bronze. I said, it don't matter. So I did a poll on my Instagram and my Twitter at Leap36, and all the fans, it was like 89% said, yeah, you got to smile. And it looks just like me because you pull that off. Some players, I've seen players that, that doesn't look like.
Yeah, do you remember the Cristiano Ronaldo one where they had to redo it? That was bad.
That was bad.
He looked like a troll or something. I don't even know what he looked like a forest dwelling like monster, like a cave dwelling monster or something. That was a bad one. You I'm 34. Chris, what are you, 27, Chris? 26? How old are you?
26.
26. Do you feel, looking back at your accolades, I'm sure you're aware you had a pretty good career. Do you feel like you're underrated?
I think that's a great question. Because when I think Lee Rimmel came to me in the 2000s, because I retired in 2002. And I remember him walking. Lee Rimmel was like our head of media guy and marketing guy, kind of set up our interviews. He worked with the media. I remember him walking by normally he would come by, because I like to know who's calling the game. Is Pat Summerall, John Madden calling the game?
Oh man, I miss hearing Pat and John. That's just the classic combo.
I just get hyped. So I always say, who's calling the game? And he would tell me. He came over to me and said, you made All-Decade. I said, what? He said, the All-Decade team from 1990 to 2000, they picked the very best players. And you made it. You were first team. I think Ronnie Lott, who's the GOAT for safeties, was second team. And Atwater was the other safety. It really didn't dawn on me. So when he left, he came back. He said, by you making that team, you may one day be in the Hall of Fame. So it took me 16 years to make it. So I used to say to myself, is it the position? Is it being in Green Bay, the smallest market? I'm one of the few guys, and even when you gave me my intro, the first guy to have 20 sacks, 20 interceptions. To do it all.
Good stat.
The first of anything is good, I think.
Yeah.
But, that's
unless it's a bad, like the first doing a bad thing.
Well, that's true. It'll still be a headline, though.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, you still are a trailblazer.
Yep. So I used to think about that people just, and then I said maybe I'm too humble, because the more you talk about yourself, sometimes the more people pay attention to you. But I didn't want to do it that way.
Right.
So, but it was worth the wait. So, but now I don't think that I was underrated at all, because once you're a gold jacket, you're the GOAT. And I'm going to tell you guys, I got goosebumps when they gave me my number. I'm sitting there and they were like, they give you all this stuff. I said, what is this? They said, you're number 357. I said, well, what's that? There's only 362 guys in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and you're number 357. And that's when I was like, that's when it hit you, that
Right.
This is rare company. So it made me, really pay attention to, it was worth the wait. And I realized that there's a lot of other guys that want to get in and may not have the opportunity. And that's what keeps me more grounded.
Yeah. And you, looking at your career, I mean, you missed very, very few games due to injury until your last season. I mean, were you constant, so obviously we know that NFL players are usually playing in some sort of constant state of, pain of some sort.
Yes.
So what about for you? I mean, did you play through some really, really tough injuries, or would you say you were blessed with were you relatively healthy throughout your career, or were there some times where you had to play through some really, really bad stuff?
I played through it's a difference between being hurt, which is everybody's hurt, and being injured. And God has been great to me, man. It's almost like He's always been there for me, because I played in 181 games, which I think is one of the tops for a franchise, for a defensive back. But the biggest injury I've ever had was when I broke my shoulder in 3 places, caused me to retire. But the other injury, the one that took me out, I had pneumonia and missed 3 games. Up until then, I hadn't missed a game. I think I went 131 straight. Hadn't missed a game. And I remember sacking Dan Marino in Milwaukee. And the next day, I started to feel kind of weird. And then that was Monday. And Tuesday, I was in the hospital. I had fluid in my lungs. I'm sitting in this bed, and I'm like, all these doctors around me, they got the plastic intensive care unit. And the doctor was like, we don't know what's wrong. Something is like.
Did you catch something from sacking Dan Marino? You got too close to Dan.
I don't know. It's like, they don't know how it happened, because it was weird.
Yeah.
Because I walked out the game, I showered, I went home, I felt fine. But Tuesday, I said, Doc, I got chest pain. And then they said, you got pneumonia. You got all this fluid in your lungs. We got to get it out of there. He stick this long needle.
Ugh.
Pull this fluid out. And as soon as he was pulling it out, it didn't hurt. It felt better. Because I could breathe now on my own.
Right.
Because that fluid was collapsing my lung.
Oh.
They were oxygen. And the nurses at Bellin, they were so amazing. Then I say, who we playing this week? We playing Philly. I said, well, I got to get out of here. She said, you've been in here for 3 weeks. I said, what?
Oh, wow.
She said, this game. She said, we had the TV for you to watch it. And I didn't remember everything. But yeah, I was the one. My mom came. They brought in my family members. I think they thought that was
they thought it was really bad.
Yeah, it was the worst case. Both of my lungs was full of fluid, and I couldn't breathe on my own. And they have you on these ventilator type breathing machines, so your lungs can kind of rest. And they got doctors flying all over from everywhere. They said, oh yeah, it's called pleurisy, I think. I think I'm messing that up, but once they got that fluid out and I breathed on my own, I lost 30 pounds. You got to kind of start to walk. Physical therapy was rough. And I remember my first game back, I thought I was going to play, but they wouldn't activate me, was against Tampa. And I came out early with the team, and the fans gave me a standing ovation. It was the stadium wasn't full yet. It's like the pregame warm-ups.
Right.
They saw me walking out. Everybody felt better.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. Do you think that's from playing in a cold weather? I mean, going from Jacksonville, where it's, in the South most of your life, to going to Green Bay, which is arguably, besides maybe Buffalo, one of the coldest weather stadiums in the whole, United States. What was that like even? to go from there.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't handle it. Can't handle the cold,
Tell you what, it was always these rumors that nobody wants to go to Wisconsin for the weather. And my rookie year, it didn't really bother me. But I got a funny story real quick. This is hilarious. Like you guys know I'm from the South.
Yeah.
So Brian Noble, a former Packer, was kind of my mentor to show me around. So it was in my apartment, and he was like, "Hey, now you could you have a fireplace. You can set that fireplace. It'll warm your whole entire living room. It'll save you some money on your heating bill." Well, never seen a fireplace in Florida. So the next day I said, "Well, how do you light it?" He said, the logs next to it, just light them. So I get this little clicker thing, and I'm lighting it. So all of a sudden, it's a fire. I'm like, oh, yeah, he was right. It's warm. And so I go in the room. Next thing you know, all this black smoke fills up my apartment. The neighbors call the fire department. The police is coming. The rescue wagon. Everybody's, and it's this black smoke that you got to crawl on the ground and get out.
Yikes.
I'm opening windows, and it's like if you were at Lambeau Fields, it was like the apartment was like 3 miles away. You could see the smoke. It was smoke everywhere. And the rescue guy come in, and they said, "Mr. Butler." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Crawl over here." So I got my clothes on. Crawl over there. He said, "What happened?" I said, "I was trying to set the fireplace." He said, "Did you open the little thing for the smoke to go out the chimney?" I said, "The chimney? What's that?" He said, "You got to open it, the little thing." He called whatever it is. So the smoke, I didn't know how to do that. So when I got to the locker room the next day, oh, man, guys was ripping on me. I didn't know how to do a fireplace to stay warm.
Yeah.
But the cold weather never bothered me. But my coldest game I ever played in was the Lambeau Leap game.
Oh, really?
Interesting.
That was cold.
So you got to Green Bay in 1990, a couple years before Favre did. Once Favre got there, obviously he took the field by chance because Majkowski got hurt. But when he first got there, did you have any inclination that he might be the guy?
Well, I played against him in college.
Oh, okay. He played against him at Southern Miss.
Yep.
And he was good.
Southern Mississippi and Florida State played at a neutral site in Jacksonville at the Gator Bowl. And I remember he was a Heisman Trophy candidate because all your schools were promoting quarterbacks or top All-Americans. And this guy, man, he ain't scared of nothing. He'll make every throw that quarterbacks won't make, he'll make it.
Right.
And I remember playing against him, and I was blitzing, and he threw it right over my fingers for a touchdown. And he always brought that up when he came to the Packers.
Right.
But I think when he got there, when Majkowski got hurt, he just needed an opportunity. He was down in Atlanta. I think it was third string.
Right.
And Ron Wolf could trade a first-round pick to bring him in. And you can just tell from day one, I just need an opportunity. And when he got that opportunity against Cincinnati, he never looked back. And this guy was just a fearless guy. And I think the one thing I remember about Brett was, I remember in practice, he threw an interception. He was so upset that he threw an interception. And I went over to him. I said, "Listen, you got to play your game. This is going to happen. It's my job to get the ball back.
Right.
So you just play your game. If you think you can get it between the linebacker, over the safety's head, in front of the cornerback, make the throw. Because it's going to be sometimes a tight end is going to beat me on a touchdown. I'm walking to the bench and I'll be distraught. And he will come over, "Really, I got you." He'll go out there and throw another touchdown and another touchdown. So we all work together.
Right.
So, the guy was fearless.
Yeah.
How did it feel winning the Super Bowl in the end?
Oh my God.
Yeah, what was that night?
Yeah.
I know you're not I read that you're not a drinker. Were you out partying that night?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Because I only vodka.
Yeah.
But I don't drink. I remember my mom telling me going to college, she said, "Don't get in line for those red cups to try moonshines." Because y'all weren't born with moonshine, was I?
I've definitely heard of moonshine.
It's 100%. That stuff's 100%. 100 proof.
Yeah.
I don't even know how they make it, but
I don't know how to drink it.
And there was another line if you want to smoke weed, if you want to try weed, allegedly.
But there's
Yeah.
a do it.
I said, no, I ain't doing that. So, nope.
Yeah.
So I never did any of that. But
What if you had gone to Miami though? They like partying.
Oh, parties, say, man. What time class starts? At 9, they walk from the club right to class.
Yeah.
And we were like that too, but we were like, you kind of keep it in moderation. But
Right.
our fans on Bourbon Street drinking these tall things, they call them a hurricane. They got 5 different liquors in it. But it just seemed like, can you imagine me? I'm a happy guy anyway. Can you imagine me drunk? I'd be the guy like, running. I'd be like old school. We're going streaking.
So, yeah, I mean, so much. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Do you, speaking of Super Bowls, do you miss like the cool field designs? I feel like in the 90s, like the Super Bowl, cause they had like Super Bowl specific, like really cool designs and they had like the logo in the field. Like, I feel like it's gotten away from that. Like maybe just like the 90s vibe of what like, how they were branding. I feel like a lot's changed.
I'm glad you brought that up. Super Bowl 31, when we get there, the color scheme, fans didn't like it. On the field, it was like, cause we was at the Superdome in New Orleans.
Yeah.
They had all these designs and all these colors. And most of it was purple.
Right. But that's like Mardi Gras colors, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But the fans, like, we thought it was going to be green and gold. The Patriots color. No, they wanted the Mardi Gras flavor to it. So we were like, a lot of the fans didn't want that, like that purple. We got a purple bib, our Super Bowl hat. And it has like, all these instruments on the side. They didn't like it, but then they got it. They said, oh, okay, it's for Mardi Gras.
Right.
So after 31 years of misery, winning that Super Bowl was amazing because the best fan base, after waiting that long to win a Super Bowl and the color schemes like you're talking about, they don't do that a lot no more.
No.
It's like, it's a little bit more sponsor driven now,
Right.
Instead of like stuff like what we had at that Super Bowl.
Do you, and there were a lot of cool jersey designs in the 90s. Are there any that you remember, like as a player, being like, man, that team's jersey is really cool. I like their jerseys.
Well, I'll tell you this, that Tampa Bay Buck, and there's a creamsicle jersey.
Yeah.
Like those? Really?
No, you don't.
Fire. Because I grew up.
Oh, so you like them.
Doug Williams and, the Buccaneers. And when I saw them wearing those throwbacks, woo-hoo, and then our throwbacks when we looked like kind of Notre Dame like, but we got the brown helmet.
The Packers throwbacks.
Oh, man, them things. But to me, the best jersey back then was the cowboy jersey from the 80s.
Was that the blue with the white sleeves? Or no?
I like that. I was a Cowboy fan growing up. I was a Cowboy fan. They had the star up here.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you played certain teams that wear their commemorative throwback jerseys. And we used to always talk about who had the best jersey. And but another one was the San Diego Chargers. Oh my, man, those bolts.
Yeah. The dark,
powder blue.
I like the those are.
We used to go up to guys. You used to go up to them. You go talk before the game. Man, New Jersey, I got to get that after the game.
Yeah.
But back then we didn't share jerseys because they wouldn't let you.
Right. Yeah.
Now they take them all. And
they're making plans to like trade jerseys like middle of the game. I feel like.
Yes. Now I know the Kelsey guys are going to do it. They're going to swap jerseys. Whoever wins the Super Bowl, they're going to, two brothers in the Super Bowl, they're going to swap jerseys. But we couldn't do that. But we talked a lot about jerseys, a lot. I don't know how you knew that, but that was a big conversation.
Would you say there's more of a business relationship back when you played? It's like cutthroat, like I'm coming after you, whereas now it's like, we're trading jerseys like at the end of the game, like a brotherhood. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, you're right, Chris. That was not happening in the 90s. Guys did not
like each other.
They did not, because I remember my first Bears game. I'm sitting in my locker, and Brian Noble comes over to me, and I'm like, he said, we're playing the Bears. I'm like, yeah. Because our biggest rivalry was Miami, Florida. Because I'm a rookie. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's like, no, we're playing the Bears. And he got really close to me. We're playing the Bears.
He's like scaring the shit out of you.
Yes. And I'm like, man, what's going on? He said, man, you're going to be standing around the pile. Some guy's going to come and just hit you in the back of your head, and they don't care nothing about the flag. I said, really? He said, yes, the oldest rivalry.
Damn.
And throw out the records. I mean, the guy will take his helmet off just to bite you on the ankle. I'm like, really? He's like, yes. So keep your head on a swivel, and we must beat the Bears. And he was right. When I went to played in my first Bear games at Soldier Field, then I felt it. Yeah, it wasn't nobody trading jerseys and numbers, and no, it wasn't that back then, no.
Yeah. So, obviously the Packers are known they got one of the biggest free agent acquisitions of all time, Reggie White, joining the team. Yeah. So what did him joining the locker room do to your team?
Oh my God. First we didn't have the internet thing. All that stuff wasn't even out yet.
Yeah.
I saw in the newspaper, Reggie's taking a visit to San Francisco. And the reason why that was a big deal, because Reggie sued the NFL to become a free agent. Because we used to have Plan B. They would protect like 6 or 7 guys. The other guys, they'd pay you giblets. But those 6 or 7 guys, you can't go anywhere, and they can pay you a certain amount, which would be a lot, but you can get more in the open market. So I remember Reggie was out there, and Coach Holmgren called him up and left him a message. Reggie, this is God. You should sign with the Packers.
It worked.
2 weeks later, he's sitting there getting a physical. And Ron Wolf was telling him, you can go anywhere and be a great player. You can come here and be a legend. That's when I felt kind of the losing trend turn. Because between the 80s, it wasn't real good. 90s wasn't real good. But when we got Reggie, things changed. And that's why
obviously, as a person, a very phenomenal person, right? Off the field.
Oh, no question. Yes.
Yeah.
He was one of these guys. I remember him walking in and he said, guys, I want to have Bible study this Friday. I said,
you all better be there.
Yes, exactly. Your mom. Oh, there's Reggie. Put up your beer. There's Reggie. Put your cigarette away. Oh my God. So, grown men on the team, they don't want to do that.
Dude,
so
Reggie's highlights of him just like flinging offensive linemen like 10 yards down the field. He's a monster.
Yeah, we asked him about that. Okay. Oh, that's a good transition. That Friday, it was only like 5 guys, and Bible study got a little disappointed. And I said, Reggie, wait a minute. You got to go let these guys know that you're not like being around your parent. Like, there's Reggie, I got to don't curse. Every Thursday is our hardest practice. You got to go to the bar. And he said, what? I said, you got to go to the bar and let the guys see you hang out with the boys. Every Thursday, they go out for beers and wings. And I didn't drink, but I still went because it's my teammates. I could eat the wings and drink Shirley Temple.
You got chicken wings.
Yeah, water. So Reggie showed up. We call him Big Dog. Big Dog. And he's behind the bar, laughing, joking. So you can be saved and be a normal guy.
Right.
Just don't break the law and do weird stuff. But you can lead. Because I got to think that when Jesus led, he didn't just say, I want certain people to follow me. No, everybody come. And on your journey, you make up your own mind how much you want to go to church or how much you want to do Bible study. But just give me this one time to see if you like it. The following Friday, we had like 50 guys in Bible study.
Right.
And that was like the breaking point. It's not weird anymore. It's okay. And if you didn't come on Friday morning, you didn't get judged for it. So what? You didn't come. You still the same, but we were close. And that's what helped us win.
Definitely. Did you, when obviously Brett Favre went through a very publicized battle with prescription drug or just drug abuse, substance abuse,
Yeah.
and still was performing at a high level. Did you guys know that something was up during those years?
No, you just like with family members or your best friends, you don't really care. You just want, you're my guy.
Right.
Win, lose, or draw, whatever. You can't always want to have friends when you just sign a big contract, you're on top of the world, everybody loves you. But when you're at a dark place or you're at a place that, you probably made some mistakes, that's when you really get your friends. I mean,
right.
That's when you know who your friends. And we just, and this with everybody, once you come in that locker room, we got you.
Right.
And I think the good thing about it was nothing was going to stop that dude, man. I mean, this guy, I used to say he wasn't human. I said, you need to donate because he never missed a game.
Yeah.
I said, man,
he was living hard on burning the candle on both ends, right?
And in the middle.
And in the middle.
It was, yes. This guy I said, man, your ankle was swole up. His ankle was the color of a crayon box. I said, it was yellow and pussy, looking like you can't play. Really, I'm playing. He had a broke thumb.
Yeah,
I said,
he was a monster.
The warrior. Yeah.
He said, ain't nothing wrong with my arm. Roy Lee used to do this. Roy Lee, ain't nothing wrong with my arm. I'm playing. So if you go through low points and high points, that's what your teammates make you think about all the high points, and that gets you out of the low points. I mean, the guy was an amazing teammate.
For sure.
You mentioned some contract extensions. You signed a couple with the Packers. Did you ever get courted by any other team and wanna jump ship somewhere else at all?
Well, that's a great question, Chris. I got this close to maybe going to Philly, allegedly. I was a transition player. I'm standing in practice. Ron Wolf, who's that's my guy. He comes up to me, and we're standing in the back of practice because the second string guys were out there, and we were just going through some plays. He walks up to me, you like it in Green Bay? I said, yeah, I love it in Green Bay. He said, well, let's talk later. I was like, let's talk later. Then he explained to me about the transition player. They had the franchise player and the transition player. Teams don't really use the transition player very much. That's the average of top 10 in the salaries for safeties. And we talked, and I said, man, I love it in Green Bay. I want all my football cards to be in green and white jerseys. And I said, I don't care about being the highest paid, but I'm not leaving this fan base. This fan base, win, lose, or draw, the stadium's full. When you go places in the community to do your charity work, you're a rock star. When you go speak at schools, kids look at you like,
right.
I'm not leaving that. And my mom used to always say, as long as you're alive, you can make money. Other than, well, if you're Elvis or Tupac, you still make money. But so you don't worry about the money part. And I restructured my contract 3 times to stay with the Packers because I always wanted the fans to know that's part of my legacy. No, I wanted to stay a Packer. Right. Sometimes it's not your fault. They just cut you or they just trade you. So me and Bob Harlan always had that understanding, the president of the Packers, that I wanted to stay a Packer, and I kept my word in doing that.
Definitely. A couple more questions before we let you go. Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers? Who do you think's better?
Well, I tell you what, and I'll be very honest. I would love to play against probably Brett because I get a chance at the interception because Aaron ain't throwing interceptions.
Right.
But I'm going to say this. If I had to pick one, I'd pick Brett. Maybe I'm biased because I won a Super Bowl. He's never missed a game. He wouldn't even address the team. Reggie White did that. It was never about him. Never. I mean, he would let practice squad guys drive his truck.
Nice.
Some guys didn't have cars. Hey, man, you take my car. And don't put no gas in it. I get gas for free. I mean, y'all want to eat with me? Because you know when you come eat with me, they ain't going to charge us.
Right.
We go to the mall to get some shoes. Get what you want. Y'all get what you want. Now, the only thing I will say about him, he owes me and Darren Sharper like $44 on the golf. He played us best ball because he's a scratch golfer.
Right.
We beat him. Now he'll say he beat us, but he did it. We beat him. He owes $44 each. So it was $88. And he was like, I don't have my wallet. I said, you got to call Deanna. That's his wife. Yeah. Call Deanna. We need the ATM card. We need our $44. So every time we would see each other, we would say, where's that buddy? But playing against, I'd like to play against Favre. Playing with, I pick Favre too.
Who do you got in the Super Bowl this weekend?
Billy.
Yeah, same here. I'm cheering for him.
It's hard. It's hard because it's first time 2 African-American quarterbacks. So if Patrick Mahomes win, I'm not going to be upset because he's the only guy I think can catch Tom Brady with 8 Super Bowls because every year he's going to be in the playoffs. But I want to see Jalen Hurts win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm pulling for the Eagles, definitely. Yeah. I'm not really a fan. I thought the Bengals kind of got screwed in the AFC Championship. There were some suspect calls. But before we let you go, let's talk about Elite Premium Vodka. So you launched your vodka brand 2 years ago.
Yes.
It's been doing pretty well. I read that obviously you don't drink, but you consulted with a lot of like friends and former players to figure out what your vodka needed. So did you basically reach out to your friends that like are the biggest drunks?
Which I got a lot of. This started in the pandemic when Chad Greenway, who played for the Vikings, a great duck, he called me. He said, Roy Lee, I know you don't drink, but this is about your portfolio. We want to start a vodka in Wisconsin. I said, okay, I'm on board if I can name it and if I can be part owner. I don't want to be an ambassador.
Right.
I can be an owner. Because if you're an ambassador, you got to pretty much be in clubs drinking. And I ain't going to do that. But if you're an owner, it's just part of your portfolio, like 50 Cent. Because, the rapper, he has alcohol. He does
vitamin water. He was making vitamin water. Yeah.
Exactly. That's part of your portfolio. Yeah. And it's been doing very good. I mean, we did some great things with it. We filter it with coconut instead of charcoal. Some of these other vodkas do charcoal. It gives you that bitter taste. And so I called Antonio Freeman. That's my guy.
Yeah.
I called, of course, Santana Dodson.
Remember him?
And Dorsey Levens. Now, these 3 guys will tell you the truth.
Yeah.
There's no filter. And when they tried it, oh, yeah, Roy Lee, you got something here.
Nice. So I take it your nickname is Roy Lee, by the way. People call you Roy Lee?
Yeah, Deion gave me that in college, Roy Lee. Yeah. So if you ever see me in Milwaukee, just yell out Roy Lee and I'll look.
All right, for sure. Chris, you got one more?
I do got one more. I don't know if you can touch on it, but as a defensive player, I feel like a lot of people can say the game has changed and it's been harder to be a defensive player. Some of the calls that, get called against your way. How do you also feel about officiating these days?
See, to me, officiating to me, I give them the benefit of the doubt because it's hard because you're watching the game.
Yeah, it's in real time. Yeah.
And you're supposed to be looking at the game. Looking at it means you're looking for everything. Watching it means, oh, man, LeBron James just laid it up. I saw a guy hacking, and that's a great play. Oh, that was a foul. So they got a lot going on. If you're an umpire, man, that was a great pitch. It was right down the middle, but called it a ball. So there's some element to it. That's why replay came in to kind of back them up. But in the Cincinnati game, some of this stuff is a head scratcher. But what I don't want is what the NBA tried to clean up.
Right.
Referees betting on games and having because that's what the conspiracy is, to where the human element means guys, and they had a young man get caught doing that. But the NFL, they're going to miss some calls.
Yeah.
But you got to let the head coach go after the white cap to at least get it looked at. And for the most part, they're never going to be 100%.
Yeah.
Because if you hit a quarterback anywhere around the shoulders back in the 90s, it wasn't a flag. But now you get a flag and it's $50,000.
Oof.
And you can't hit the quarterback in the knees. You can't lay on the quarterback. You can't do this. The receiver, you can't touch him. It's always, the defense is always in the negative. So they got to figure out how to
Yeah, it's always making it harder for the defense.
Exactly. They want to see the scoreboard more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's physics, you know, you can't tell someone just to stop their momentum just because someone just ended up like moving downwards, you know.
Yeah.
Not your fault.
You're dealing with guys who are very, very fast, very, very strong. And even that's a hard task for them to just change direction on like a dime. But for sure, well,
for the
LeRoy,
most part, they'll get it right.
Yeah, well, LeRoy, we certainly appreciate your time. Again, Hall of Famer. God, what are your accolades again for all decade 1990s all decades team?
We don't have to go through the accolades. Just say we had a great conversation because people can Google all that stuff.
Yeah,
but most of the guests, they like to hear all that stuff. I don't.
Yeah, you already know what you did.
Exactly. I just like having a normal conversation with you two guys, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So we can do it again in the future.